When Pamela Anderson was married to the famous drummer Tommy Lee, she had to deal with a lot of violence, blood, and tears. People only saw the sex bomb on the red carpet for years. In private, though, she was living a nightmare that ended her career and her life. Which do you think of more, a crazy love story or a dark scandal? Hollywood's biggest sex icon has finally taken off the mask. Everyone in the world is scared to death by the shocking truth. At light speed, Pamela Anderson entered Tommy Lee's path. And with an attraction that made them both go in a circle that they couldn't get out of. Late in 1994, the Mötley Crüe drummer jumped right into Pamela's personal life, breaking all the lines between them. 6 weeks after that, they got married in Cancun on the beach. She was wearing a white bikini and he was wearing shorts. To show their love, they chose to get tattoos of each other's names instead of diamond rings or other fancy ceremonies. People said that they fell in love at first sight, but the relationship was actually a mess. As soon as they got married, they started going to parties, using drugs, and getting into fights. The only time I ever loved Pamela deeply was that night. I did say it later, but it was the worst fear of my life. Something shocking happened when a private tape was taken from their villa's safe. The holiday recording was meant to be a keepsake, but it went popular around the world. This started a time when sex tapes were shared online at a speed that had never been seen before. Pamela was the one who was hurt the most, while Tommy saw it as an invasion of privacy. The news about the tape hurt her reputation as an up-and-coming actor, and it hurt her chances of getting a job. "It wasn't like I lost control of my body," she said. "I failed at the job I had worked so hard to get." While all the attention was on Pamela, she found out she was pregnant with her first kid. She had a hard time keeping things normal for her small family while dealing with the growing pressure from the public. While their relationship got worse, the rumors about her kept going around. Tommy got envious and bossy, and Pamela was mentally worn out. All of this made her think about leaving many times, but her blind connection kept her from doing so. Pamela was hopeless because everyone was always fighting, drinking, and arguing. On the outside, the press still called them the hottest pair of the decade. In reality, though, Pamela felt stuck. She wrote in her book, "I thought my life would end inside those walls." Following each other, 2 boys were born. The births of Brandon and Dylan were a rare bright spot in the dark days. Although, not much changed. The addition of children made Pamela work harder to keep up the look of a happy family, but the fights got worse behind the scenes. Pamela slowly became depressed, tired, and afraid all the time because of the criticism, heated fights, and long days of not knowing what would happen. People who were there later said it was a time of love and destruction. That one line from Pamela that stays with me, "I loved him so much that I lost myself." That line showed how a relationship that seemed romantic really worked. But in reality, it was just a cycle of anger, exhaustion, and fire. When Pamela called the marriage a nightmare, she wasn't just talking about a rough time, she was talking about the whole painful experience of a star who was swept away by love and fame. Things were about to get even worse because it was the basis for the coming collapse. Teenage fights, divorce, and the scars. Even though things were rough in the beginning of the marriage, a shocking event was what really turned things around. Lee did something cruel in Pamela Anderson's home in 1998, while she was holding her young son. Because of this event, Lee was arrested and put on trial. He was given a sentence of 6 months in prison, and Pamela quickly filed for divorce. She had been trying to keep up the image of family, but this was the turning point that broke it. During the court case, Pamela was the center of attention, but this time it wasn't for good reasons. The news covered the trial in great depth, focusing on how dangerous the situation was for her. People used to call the woman a global sex symbol, but now she looked like a real victim who had been hurt physically and mentally. When Pamela said there was no going back in court, she showed a level of drive that had never been seen before. When the couple got divorced, there was an immediate custody fight. Both wanted to be in charge of Brandon and Dylan, which made a lot of court meetings very heated. Pamela was worried that Tommy Lee's wild behavior would have an effect on the kids, while Lee tried to show that he was worthy. It took Pamela years of hard work to get to the point where she could agree to shared custody. Besides the legal fights, Pamela's health was also getting worse. She told Lee about her past and found out that she got hepatitis C from sharing tattoo tools with him. The public was shocked when this information came out, and it showed how bad the relationship was. Pamela's sickness not only hurt her physical health, but also her mental health. She had to spend years in treatment to get better. It was clear that Pamela was hurting even more when she admitted that she was thinking about ending everything. In her later writings, she wrote that she was having a panic attack, couldn't sleep a lot, and was scared all the time. The place she wrote about was one where she fought herself every day. Not only did the violence hurt, but the thought of Lee's control and jealousy also had an effect. A friendship that used to be passionate and interesting has turned into a painful lesson. In many interviews, Pamela has said that Tommy was her one and only real love, but she also says that it broke her. "I fell in love without thinking and paid with my youth" became a message that correctly showed the conflict in her heart. She was attached and tormented at the same time. Even though they got divorced, Lee was still a part of Pamela's life. For the sake of their 2 kids, they had to talk to each other. But each time they did it, it brought back memories that were hard to get rid of. Even Pamela herself said that talking about the kids was like sticking a knife in an old wound every time. People saw them as a couple, but in reality, they had to be apart because of their situation. Pamela found it even harder to get away from the image of tragedy after being put in the part of a victim. It became less and less likely for her to be in movies, and her personal life became more common in the news than her acting job. Every move Pamela made was watched, from going to events to speaking in public. She was very lost during this time and no longer felt like she belonged in the center. Pamela was feeling 2 different worlds at the same time. 2 things were true. First, the love that once burned had left behind children. Second, that love had many effects that could not be fixed right away. These 2 extremes were hurting her and making her want to escape. Even when it looked like everything was falling apart, Pamela didn't give up on protecting her kids and slowly got back to being a mother. As the years went by, people got married too quickly and kept going on trips because of this damage. From there, she slowly came to understand that Tommy Lee's ghost would always be there, even though they were no longer together. Short marriages and the lost path. After her divorce from Tommy Lee, Pamela Anderson tried different ways of expressing her emotions, but they all failed. Her next marriages were short and full of problems, and they all failed, leaving her looking for something she had never found. Kid Rock and Pamela got married in 2006. The connection made a lot of news because the rock star and the TV star were so different from each other. The wedding on a boat in France seemed like the start of a new era, but Pamela filed for divorce less than 4 months later. The reason was found to be irreconcilable disagreements and problems caused by living different lives. After the split, she was in the news again, but Pamela was still feeling very sad inside. From there, Pamela went on to talk about famous poker player Rick Salomon. Initially, they got married in 2007 but quickly got divorced after a few months. After being apart for a while, they got married again in 2014, but they soon broke up again. Because Pamela has been in the same relationship twice and both ended so quickly, it shows that she has never been able to make emotional choices without repeating herself. These methods were like a last-ditch effort to fill the void Tommy Lee left. But a string of fails happened as a result. Pandemic years later, in 2020, Pamela married Dan Hayhurst, a building worker who lived with her on Vancouver Island. The ceremony took place on the property of her own house. Before, this choice made a lot of people think that Pamela had found peace. But a year later, the marriage ended. Pamela said that she made this hasty choice because she was lonely during the social distance time. Once more, the ghosts of the past brought her back to a life she had forgotten. In the past, Pamela has said many times that her weddings after that were not based on true love. Rather, they were hasty responses meant to fill a need. "I couldn't get back the way I felt, and every time I tried, it made me more tired," she says. That confession definitely shows that she has been stuck in her search for commitment for a long time. After all the setbacks, Pamela's 2 boys, Brandon and Dylan, are the only thing that keeps her steady. A lot of her time is spent with her kids, and she keeps a close eye on their progress in the fashion and entertainment fields. But because she has been in so many breakups, Pamela has worked hard to become a mother who keeps her kids safe from the public eye. In her daily life, this has helped her keep some stability. The wrong way was still clear. At the time, the news always talked about Pamela's personal life. Instead of an image of a popular actress, there were a bunch of headlines about failed relationships. The art projects stopped happening, and Pamela became linked to the idea of an unhappy woman. This truth made it even more difficult for her to get away from her past. There was a clear impact from the short-lived marriages. Pamela knew that no matter how hard she tried to find love, it would not be enough. Because she always picked the wrong person at the wrong time, she was a great example of someone who was lost after a breakup. Even so, that event made Pamela realize that the best way to heal is not to depend on other people, but to turn back to herself. She decided to live alone and wasn't outgoing. Her children and her rights are the most important things to her. The many mistakes didn't totally beat her, instead, they were painful lessons that helped her see the truth. Every attempt to get rid of Tommy Lee made things worse. From that point of view, Pamela started to think of a new path where she could get away from the label that came with having broken up with people and get back to her values through art and making better personal choices. New life through art and the truth. Years of bad relationships led Pamela Anderson to start a new life by telling her story. She didn't hide what happened, instead, she used art and media to talk about her past and take back control of her image. This was the moment when Pamela came out of the dark and changed how people saw her in public. The publication of her autobiography, Love Pamela, in 2023 was a turning point. It was a long, detailed account of Pamela's famous youth marriage to Tommy Lee and very troubled years. In contrast to the outside rumors, this time the voice came from her. The autobiography sold a lot of copies very quickly and helped Pamela get back to being known as a woman who was brave enough to tell the truth. Around the same time, Netflix released the documentary Pamela, Love Story, which included personal materials and photos that had never been seen before. This gave viewers a more honest look at the events. These two items helped Pamela change the course of her life. Not happy with just telling stories about her life, Pamela went back to Broadway in Chicago. When she came back as Roxy Hart, it caused a big stir. An important part that needed singing, dancing, and acting. People saw Pamela as more than just a sex symbol, she was a serious artist with amazing skills. When she got noticed on Broadway, it showed that she could get past old biases and find new career possibilities. With the movie project The Last Showgirl, she continued to have success. Many people liked Pamela in this part, and she was nominated for a lot of important awards. She later talked about how each piece of art is like medicine for her. Every time I step on screen, I feel like I peel back another layer of the past, Pamela said in an advertising chat. Not only did The Last Showgirl mark her return, it also showed how strong she was in the face of her own past. Pamela kept getting attention when she was in The Naked Gun in 2025. She saw it as a comedy, but it was also a chance to heal her mental scars. Pamela said in an interview that her time on the set had helped her feel happy and confident again. Being a part of a big entertainment show showed that Pamela was fully back in the art world and no longer limited by her past views. Aside from movies and theater, Pamela also uses everyday things to build new values. She began the TV show Pamela's Cooking with Love, which shows a simple woman in the kitchen sharing stories and recipes. The show is entertaining and unique because Pamela mixes food with life lessons. She is clearly happy and wants to share that happiness. In addition to art, Pamela loves doing things with other people. She strongly backs PETA and other animal rights groups and often speaks out for vegetarianism and environmental protection. Moving from entertainment to helping others has helped Pamela get more attention. She is no longer just seen through the lens of entertainment. As a result, her new image as an adult, responsible woman with strong morals is strengthened. There is a new picture made when memoirs, documentaries, stage plays, movies, TV shows, and action come together. No longer linked to sex tapes or scandalous marriages, Pamela Anderson is seen as a person who worked to take back control of her life. People notice Pamela because of her artistic skills and her desire to tell her own story. Not only is she well known in the entertainment business, but she is also a great example of how art can help people heal. This trip shows that you can get back up after falling and change how you feel about yourself. And from this base, Pamela keeps starting a new story where truth and art work together to show that she is still alive. Pamela Anderson, who is 58 years old, has come out of her personal problems to figure out what she wants her memory to be. After all the short-lived relationships and many noisy and stormy days, what the audience sees is her strength to get through hard times and her ability to change. It was the end of an era and the start of a new way of looking at her when she told everyone about her terrible marriage to Tommy Lee. The most important thing about Pamela is not her magazine covers or one-time TV parts, but how brave she was to tell the truth. A lot of people choose to keep quiet to protect their reputation, but Pamela told the whole truth. Because she did this, she became an icon of honesty and bravery. It showed that mistakes and painful memories could be met and talked about. Can make people remember someone differently. Her sons, Brandon and Dylan, are big parts of that heritage. Both grew up in the public eye, but they have stayed away from the media. Pamela has said over and over that her kids should learn from her mistakes and not make the same ones. Their progress shows how hard Pamela has worked as a mother, which is her main job. She had a lot of mental problems. In addition to her family, Pamela has had an impact on a whole group of young women. She is an example of a woman who knows how to take back control because she called out violence in public, admitted that blind love had hurt her, and fought hard for her freedom. It is clear what the meaning is. A bad past doesn't have to be the end of your life, it can help you build a new one. People's ideas about entertainment stars also changed because of Pamela. She was once seen as a stereotypical sex symbol, but now she shows that jobs can be rebuilt through hard work, art, social activism, and saying what she thinks. This leaves behind a clear picture of a woman who is brave enough to stand out from her own shadow. As an older person, Pamela is happy living a quiet life on Vancouver Island. Spending time in outdoors with family, reading, and making art. Her way of life shows how mature she is and how she has been through storms to find peace. Not only will her memoirs, roles, and TV shows live on, but so will the picture of a strong person who has been through a lot. The message that Pamela Anderson left was very strong. Being strong doesn't mean avoiding things, it means being brave enough to tell the truth. Her horrible marriage to Tommy Lee used to be the worst thing in her life, but now it shows how strong she is. When you think about her whole journey, Pamela's worth isn't just in the entertainment business, it's also in the story of her survival, where each setback makes her stronger. And that's the most important thing she leaves the next generation. This is Pamela Anderson's story. She talks about the good times, the bad times, her strength, and the memory she leaves behind at age 58. It's okay to fall down, but what counts is how we get back up and keep going. If you liked this video and want to help us share more truly uplifting stories, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Leave a comment below with what you thought about this unique trip.